right, let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome you. Jenny Kruger is in Iceland, so she's not here. And I wanted to just take a second and thank y'all for coming to the leader training if you were there. We had an awesome time, and our theme this year is gathering around the table and inviting people to the table and sitting at the Lord's table, and we just used the table. We were going to weave that through all year long, and today we just want to emphasize the sitting with the Lord at His table. So many of you are counting down your days or trying not to count down your days, and I've done this for 5 years, and this morning, still thinking about it, my stomach is like in knots. I'm like, oh God, it's next week. So I can imagine our new schools. We're so thrilled for you. We're excited it's not us. We're praying for you. Being new is so hard, and starting is so hard. I just want to share a story. Yesterday, I'm doing a Bible study with some friends, and it's discerning the voice of God, which I'm awesome at. And so much of this study is just being still and just trying to let the Lord speak to you, and just trying to be still enough that you can hear Him. And I was frantic yesterday. I'd been at the office twice. I had to go back and get shirts, and I had an armful of Rise Up shirts. I was headed to the school for an ambassador meeting, and I just was like, you know what? I just need to be still for a minute. So I sat on the Rise Up couch, and I was like, all right, Lord, I just want to listen. And this thought comes in my mind that I needed to take Rose dinner. And I instantly went through what that checklist might look like, and I'm like, I do not have time to do or think about that because I am trying to listen to the Lord. I actually said that. And I was like, I don't have time, I have to listen to the Lord. And I swear I saw God go, I want you to take Rose dinner. There's nothing going on with Rose. Rose is fine. But God wanted me to take her dinner. So I sat with my T-shirts for a minute, and I was like, okay, if that's what you're calling me to do, you're going to have to make a way. The day is full. The day is frantic. There's stuff going on. I didn't even want to feed my kids dinner. I had a Zoe's coupon that was expiring. I was kind of excited about using it. And the Lord said He would make a way. And so I want to encourage that for you. Sit at His table long enough that He can call you to something. And I think He's called you to rise up, and that's why you're here. And you're overwhelmed and you're stressed, but He will make a way. If He's called you to it, He's going to make it happen. I don't know how He stops the sun, and I know how He stopped the clock and got me everywhere I need to go, but He's the creator, He's the master of all that, He can. So Jenny's going to come up, and she's going to pray and do multiple things for us. But that's my encouragement to you, is try to be still, even if you're holding all your Rise Up stuff frantic.
Hi guys, good morning. I woke up this morning just so excited for these new schools. On the ministry team, I am the launch coordinator, so I have the unique responsibility, and just it's so much fun of getting to know these new schools and all the personalities that are involved. And so I just woke up excited that you guys were here for your first programming meeting. And it's not just to see what's going on, you got to really know what's going on, because you're about to deliver it to these kids. So I wanted to ask the new schools to please stand up. If we could have Sweet Apple stand up, those girls, Summit Hill, Roswell North, I know they sound so much alike, and Hickory Flat. And stay standing. So I know we all remember what it was like when we were this school. I mean, it was Crabapple Crossing just a few years ago. I know exactly what it's like to be in y'all's shoes. So I'd like to take this moment and pray over you guys. If you're near one of these schools, if you want to just put your hand on their shoulder or whatever you're comfortable with, but I'd like to just take this time and just lift up these new schools to our God. Dear Heavenly Father, we know that you are in this room. We know that you know every child that we're going to be able to speak truth to this school year. Dear Lord, I lift up Roswell North. I lift up Sweet Apple. I lift up Summit Hill, and I lift up Hickory Flat into your hands. I thank you, Lord, for choosing these leaders, Lord. You chose them. You knew exactly who they were, Lord. You equipped them. And dear Lord, I lift them up to you. I pray for peace and wisdom. I pray, Lord, that you will remind them that you've got this. Some of the details may go by, Lord, but all the details are in your hands. So I lift up the safety of these schools. I lift up their teachers. I lift up their administration. I lift up everyone that Rise Up is going to come in touch with. And I pray, Lord, that they will see the joy of Jesus through Rise Up. Dear Lord, I lift up every other school to you as well. And I just thank you for this privilege that we can come into our schools and we can worship Jesus in those halls. All these things we ask in your name. Amen. One other thing. So if your birthday falls on a Monday where we are meeting, then you get a special birthday. It is Wednesday. We always met on a Monday. Thank you. On a Wednesday. So Melanie Ward, it's your birthday. And we need to sing to you. So everybody, I am not singing into this thing. Trust me, you do not want to hear that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Melanie. Happy birthday to you. Melanie is at Summit Hill and her sweet friend Amy brought a cake. So before you guys leave, make sure that you get a piece of cake. And also for those schools who use Stephanie at Office Depot, we've heard amazing stories about Stephanie. And so we have a card for her. So if you went to buy the cake, if you could stop by and sign that card for Stephanie, that'd be great. Thanks, guys.
Forgot to thank Fellowship Bible Church. This is like first class for us. Like we love our old space. This space is so amazing. So thank y'all for your hospitality and your accommodations. It's just awesome. Okay, one of you.
Hey, hi, my name is Lindsey Poulos, and I know some of you, and I don't know a lot of you, which is going to be exciting this year getting to know you. About 4 years ago, I was part of the team that helped start Rise Up at Kincaid. My children, whoop, whoop, yep, she's still here. And my kids were in the 5th grade that year, so we graduated out, but we passed the baton on, and then we've been helping out at that level just whenever we could fill in. And then this year, Jenny called me and asked if I would come alongside Stacy and be a regional liaison. And so I don't know if there's a slide. There it is. Awesome. So we have a group. Stacy and I are not the only regional liaisons. We are 2 of them. So find your school's name up there and see the name above that. That is who your regional liaison is. And what that means is that we're basically just going to be someone who comes alongside you this year. We're going to come and visit your schools and see what you're up to, see what you're doing awesome, so we can share and go, hey, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. Like, look at this. Let's share these ideas. That's what we do at the ministry level, and that's what I do in life in general. And so it's just a great thing to do to sort of collaborate together. And that goes along with the other role that Stacy and I have, which is just our role, which is volunteer coordinator. So we're going to take the information that all these regional liaisons gather, and we're going to come up with different things that we've learned that we can help to equip and empower volunteers to do your jobs and to so if you guys have any ideas along the way that you've found, that you've done, that have worked, that you want to share with us, please do that, because we are new. I am not in pajamas. I'm not in pajamas because I didn't get the memo about the pajamas. So I'm obviously not doing everything right myself. So do not be afraid of us. I'm not someone to be afraid of at all. We are working together. So if anyone wants to give me memos, in case it looks like I've forgotten them, I will welcome that. So I think, our first volunteer training. Ready to take notes? This is the first thing that you need to do. The one thing that we know we need before we even get started is for you guys to make sure at every meeting that you have a list of every volunteer and their emails, not just their names, but their emails. Now, you probably have a list of your registered volunteers. You can print that out if you're a spreadsheet person and want to do that. That's awesome. Just make sure there's a space on there for volunteers who have come in that aren't registered, so we can figure out who they are and get them plugged in, get them registered, get their background checks done, just get all of their information so we can make sure that they're part of the team and that we're doing everything we need to do. So if you'll work with us to make sure at your meetings that you have a list that you can get all that information, that'd be great.
Thank you. Hey, Stacy, Damico, again excited to be still on the team here at Rise Up, even though my kids have all graduated on, but so much fun I decided to stay. So one of the things that we're super excited about that we also are doing new this year is a ministry-wide Bible study. So we have these books outside in keeping with the theme that we say to a seed, and the way we're going to run it is have a closed Facebook group that's linked on the Rise Up Leader Forum, so you can go there and ask to join, and then we'll have, encouraging messages and questions from the books, and maybe a video. And the video is going to be on there too. So I encourage everybody to do it in your chapter or as a whole. Let's rise up together and save us a seat here. September 7th, the study kicks off.
You can go ahead and join the group now.
Yes, you can join the group now. Request to join the group now. Get your book out in the lobby, and then we'll kick off on September 7th. Right.
All right, now I know you guys are excited about curriculum. Here's what I'm going to tell you. When you're talking to kids, we're going to start off with some mistake we just made. We talked from the floor, and some of you couldn't see, or the lighting was wrong, or whatever. I don't know if your schools have a stage. Use it. That's what it's there for. Are y'all good? All right. We're going to cover a little bit about what we changed with curriculum. If you remember, we polled you at the last meeting last year. Asked a bunch of questions about curriculum, what was good, what was bad, what you loved, what you didn't like. We went through and simplified the curriculum. It's a lot easier to read and take a look through. We gave you timing on the segments. So when you get somebody up there and they teach the definition of what we're talking about today, and they take 22 minutes, it was too long. So it only needs to be about 3 minutes, so choose wisely. Also make sure as you hand out those assignments and you're assigning different people different parts, that you let them know you got 3 minutes. Practice on 3 minutes. Did you guys know that the typical attention span of an elementary kid is 8 minutes? That's all you got. And that's the older elementary kid. Think about television. You got about 8 minutes. You got a commercial. You got 8 minutes. You got a commercial. That's all they got. So if you span it over that, you're in trouble. You got to change between segments, okay? We moved the C3 up front. So what is it we want them to remember in the curriculum? Is it that I happen to wear a mask and I look like an idiot? No, that made it fun. But what I want them to remember is Christ and your character and the connection between the two, right? So we moved it up front. We got kind of creative, and instead of it being a short statement, it may be a rhyme. And so you're going to learn some rhyme and some sing-song, and what we're hoping you're going to do throughout the year. They're stupid, they're silly, they're fun. I think your kids are going to like them. If you guys, my kids are in their 20s, but if your kids are like mine, they hear a song on the radio, they remember it. I don't remember it. I don't remember any of the words. I usually don't even know there's bad words in them. I'm just humming along. But they know all the words. And so as you teach the C3, it's going to be kind of rhyme, sing-song, rhythm, that type of stuff. I think they'll enjoy that piece. We reduced it down to one messy game. There's not two to prepare for. I'm surprised no one cheered. So, yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about. So there's one. We want it to be messy. If you have a problem with messy, we have a problem with you, okay? So if your kids like messy, you're going to see the messy and you're going to go, what does this have to do about friendship? Absolutely nothing, okay? It's just to have some fun and to break it up a little bit. You're going to hold their attention. If you're totally messy, if you make a total fool of yourself, they'll actually listen, okay? So one messy game. We give you 3 small group options. So before it was one list, it was usually discussion questions. We kind of took a look at the makeup of the different groups. You may have kindergarten boys, or you may have 5th grade girls. Will they respond differently in small group? So there's 3 different options. There's a discussion-based question that you can do if you want to. Typically there is some sort of action-based something. Hopefully you're sitting, you might be tossing paper into a bucket, but there's discussion going around that. And then typically there's a crafty part in it. So it may be coloring, a coloring page, whatever. You do not have to do all 3. You just want to choose one. If you run out of time and you want to do 2, you can do 2. So don't stress out about the small group options. You have multiple choices. The Bible story itself, we kind of simplified it down just a little bit into more of a narrative. You can add in flavor to it, or you can take flavor out. So we recognize that some schools have a really strong storyteller and some don't. And so if you're not a strong storyteller, it's really hard to pull up and to work with extra people. But if you're a strong storyteller and you want to bring some extra people in with you, that's fantastic. The other piece is we're going to give you the curriculum early. So it's on Dropbox. That's scary. We're writing right now for January and February. So when you go out there, if you take an early peek at what's out there, know that we're still changing it. So this morning, I changed something on the curriculum, okay? I cleaned it up just a little bit. So until you get to the day of programming when we teach you the curriculum and we go through all of it, don't assume that we're done with it. Make sense? If you take an early peek and you're like, wow, this is like disjointed, it's because we're not done with it. You with me? But you're going to get it a lot sooner. The other thing we did is we filmed every part of the curriculum. And so when you come in here, we're going to take a look, and we're going to see it filmed. And then you're going to be able to direct whoever's teaching your story, whoever's telling the definition, whoever's doing the intro and the prayer to the video, instead of having to go home and explain it again or have them run through the morning segment. So let's take a look at what was filmed.
Good afternoon, Rise Up. I am so excited to be kicking off this new year with you, and this month is going to be so much fun. If this is your first time ever at Rise Up, I want you to raise your hand. I mean, not just your first time this year, because it's the first one, but raise your hand if you've never been to Rise Up before. We just want to give you a huge Rise Up welcome and tell you we love that you're here, and we're going to have so much fun with you. Rise Up is a place that we talk about the Bible, we can ask great questions with each other, and we figure out what it looks like to follow Jesus. At Rise Up, you're going to hear something called the C3 phrase. We're going to talk about that a lot. We say that because we focus on 3 C's: Christ, character, and connections. We're going to teach you all about Christ. We're going to do a different character virtue every month, and we like to connect and hang out with each other. You may be wondering, why are we all dressed up like a sleepover? I'm not dressed up like a sleepover. We didn't just have a sleepover last night, but I do love sleepovers. I love the food, I love staying up late, I love candy, and I love watching movies, but most of all, I love being with friends. Today we're talking about friendship. What that means is using our words or actions to show others you care. And the Bible has a little something to say about this. In Proverbs 17:17, it says, "A friend loves at all times." Can you say that with me? A friend loves at all times. Our C3 wrap for this month is awesome. It's Jesus thought that it was neat to love those with stinky feet. So when you think of God above, it makes it easy to show friends love. Now our Bible story today is going to give us a little bit of a glimpse of what it looked like the night before Jesus was arrested. See, he knew it was going to happen, and he planned a great big get-together with his friends. They had food, they had conversation, and it wasn't exactly a sleepover, but they did a really interesting activity, one I'm pretty sure you've never done at your sleepovers. Now, before we get to that, I would love for us to have a great, awesome game. So can I have 2 brave volunteers?
Okay. This game, just stand up here for just a second and I'm going to let them know what's going on. So we have, welcome, this is initiation. In the Dropbox, there is 2 versions of this. The first version involves someone feeding someone else a ton of food on the table. The second version is getting them ready for the day. So you could either do 1 child, 1 volunteer, and the child gets the volunteer ready or the child feeds the volunteer. Or if you don't have volunteers who might be game for this, you could pick your 5th graders and then 1 kid per team as we have them. And that child will get the 5th grader ready for the day. So we're doing the getting ready for the day version. And so, gentlemen, you look awesome, but we're going to fix it. So if you'll come on over, the instructions ask for a poncho. Another option is to poke a hole in a trash bag, which is what we have today. The instructions call for a tarp. You can also use a plastic tablecloth. So you don't need your arms for this, so it's okay that there's no armholes today. Yeah, that's good. Now, I want to make sure y'all are completely protected, so go ahead and put these on your heads, because we don't want y'all to get messed up. You're not a 5th grader. Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. Come on up. All right, so stand up here at your spot. If I were y'all, I would do this with 3 volunteers or 3 5th graders. We're just doing 2 today because there weren't that many people who would do this. All right. Go ahead and put this on your eyes because you cannot see what's happening. You're going to stand behind them the best you can, and you are going to get them ready for the day. The first thing you're going to want to do is maybe brush their teeth. These have obviously never been used before, and they're just what I had in a little package, so we're using little short things. You're going to brush their teeth. You are going to shave them, so you're going to have to apply some shaving cream. Don't take razors to your meeting. These have the cover on them, and that is an option, but I don't know that I would trust your kids to do that. You can buy Nair sticks at the dollar store, and there's no blade, so that's an option. Or you can just use a popsicle stick for the razor blade. After you get them ready with shaving, you're going to apply lipstick. This is a gender-confused activity, okay? And then you're going to need to use these unused hair items and do their hair. I had at home bowls of cereal, like supplies for bowls of cereal that at the end you would feed them cereal, and they're still in my refrigerator. Sorry. All right, Lindsey, start the music, and then we'll go. If you need to take your arms out from under their arms, that's okay. Which one? Do you want to shave? Here, go to shave. Yep, awesome. Okay, you're close. You're almost there. Here you go. That's perfect. You can stay with that. Barbershop style. Y'all are enjoying this. Your eyes look so nice. Very nice. Okay, awesome. Yes, don't forget that part. Yes. All right, now I think it's time for lipstick. There you go. Lipstick. Never before used lipstick, but I might do. Check out the versions in the Dropbox, see which one you think is going to work best for you. And you will probably want to bring wipes and towels. I didn't. Next to the cereal.
My wife just told me to show up.
Never again.
I'm a servant in my master's house. We were busy making preparations. See, the city of Jerusalem, it was springtime, and the city was so busy as people came in from all around. It was a special time of festival. It was a time where my people celebrated all that God had done for us. And we had preparations to do. In my master's house, we were preparing for the Passover meal. We had lamb to cook. We had homemade bread to make. We had herbs to gather, and we had to set the table for all of the guests so that people could eat together. The house was busy. I was in the kitchen and I was cleaning up, and someone came in and said that we would have extra guests that evening. And that wasn't uncommon, as many families would come together and celebrate the Passover meal. And then they announced that our guest that evening would be Jesus and his disciples. I stopped what I was doing. Jesus and his 12 disciples would be coming to my master's house? I couldn't hardly believe it. See, I had heard so many things about Jesus. Everyone had. Everyone was talking about the things that he was doing, the sick that were being healed and the paralyzed that were able to walk. And thousands would gather to hear his stories. Why, there was even a story that on the hillside there were 3,000 people that Jesus had provided food for. I couldn't believe that he was going to be coming to my master's house. Everyone was talking around the city about whether or not he was the king that God had promised to send to our people to save us. I wasn't sure myself, but I knew that when Jesus had come into Jerusalem just a couple of days before, why people had met him outside the gates, and they had branches, and they waved, and they laid their coats down for him as he rode in on a donkey, and they shouted, "Jesus, the King of Israel." And here he was going to be coming to my master's house for Passover. Oh, I had never had anyone that important come to our house before, and I'm sure if you were to have someone that important come to your house, you would wonder the same things that I did. What would he be like? A king coming to our house? Would he be demanding? How would he treat these 12 disciples, these friends that he had chosen to follow him around? And would I be able to ask him questions? I wasn't really sure, but I made sure that the preparations were ready for dinner that night. I made a special place setting just for Jesus, and I put next to the plate, King. I made sure that the food was ready, and that evening as Jesus and his disciples actually came to the house, I stood and I watched as they came in, and as they came in I began to notice that these 12 friends, these disciples, why, they were just like ordinary men, like you and I. And some were tall, and one was short, and one had crooked teeth, and one had ears that stuck out, and one was very loud. And I was kind of surprised that Jesus would have chose these men to be his friends, to be the people that he would go around and tell God's word with. And as dinner began, I had made this place for Jesus, and as he sat, he just talked to these disciples like they were his friends. He didn't act like a king. He wasn't demanding. He shared the meal with them. And as the meal progressed, I saw that Jesus stood, and I paid attention to see what was he going to do next? What announcement would he make? And as he stood, he took off his coat, and he picked up a towel, and he put the towel around his waist. And as he went over to the first disciple, he got down on his knees and filled a bowl with water, and he washed his feet. He washed the disciples' feet. Why, I stood there by the wall, and I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. See, that's a job for a servant as myself. I'm not quite sure what you call those that are on your feet, that have those covered. We don't have those here in Jerusalem. And see, as we walk around on our streets that are made of dirt and mud, our feet get dirty and filthy and stinky. And so when someone would come to my master's house, it was my job to clean their feet and prepare them to enter into the house and be a guest. And here was Jesus cleaning the dirty feet of his disciples. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I was supposed to help. What should I do? And even the disciples tried to say, Jesus, you don't wash my feet. But Jesus insisted. And he would wash one feet, he would empty the water, and he would move to the next. I could see how much Jesus loved them. Even though they weren't perfect, like you and I, how much Jesus loved them. And as Jesus explained to them, he was simply doing what God had told him to do, had sent him to do. He knew how much God loved each of these men, and he was showing them love. He wanted to show the disciples, and he said, I'm to be an example. Don't ever consider yourself better than someone else. We're to love one another. I stood there. It was a special evening. It was one that I'll never forget. And as he finished washing all of their feet, they had more conversation. And Jesus explained to him that he knew one of those 12 would go and turn him into the authorities that night. One of them would turn him into the authorities? And Jesus had just washed their feet, but he knew that they were going to do that. And another disciple who had said how much he loved Jesus told him, and I know that later tonight you'll pretend that you don't know me. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. I was amazed that Jesus knew that, but he still showed them love. It was a night, like I said, it was a night that I'll never forget. And in fact, I think of it often, and it changes how I treat other people, whether they're nice to me or not. See, when I look around and I see all these people, all the people around me, I remember how much God loves them, and it makes it easier for me to show them kindness, whether they're nice to me or not. Oh, friends, I'm so glad that you could join me for this story of friendship. But my goodness, I've taken so much of your time. I'm sure that they're wondering where you are. We better put you back in that time machine and send you back before they start to worry. I need you to buckle up. Put your hats on. Doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. Now does the C3 rap make sense to you guys? I want you guys to repeat it with me. Jesus thought that it was neat to love those with stinky feet. So when you think of God above, it makes it easy to show friends love. What I took away from that story is that Jesus was sitting around the table and washed his disciples' feet, but some of those people weren't always the kindest, as Hildy taught us. One would betray him, others would scatter and flee. One would deny that he knew Jesus 3 times, yet Jesus still decided to show them love. And so my prayer for all of us is that when we leave Rise Up today, we can show not only our friends love, but those who aren't that nice to us too. Imagine showing the bully love. Imagine showing the kid in your class that's not always sweet, or the sarcastic friend. Imagine showing them all love, just the way that Jesus did.
Hey you guys, this year we're going to give you 3 different options that you can choose from for small group. So the first option that we're going to give you is called Talk It Out. This is just a couple questions that you can use to jumpstart the conversation in your small groups. Things like, what do you think it means when we say that Jesus loved those with stinky feet? Or what do you think it would be like to sit at the Last Supper? How do you think Jesus felt knowing that some of his friends were going to betray him? Questions like that. The second option that we have is called Can't Sit Still. So these options are going to be a little more active. This month we have the idea of hopscotch to take place in your small group. So if you can either use sheets of paper that you tape on the ground, or you could just make a hopscotch court on the floor with tape. And so what you're going to do is have the kids jump saying the C3 rap. Jesus thought that it was neat to love those with stinky feet. So when you think of God above, it makes it easy to show love. So you can just have the kids jump up and down on the hopscotch court as they say the C3 rap. Then the third option we have is the crafty corner. So every month we're going to have in Dropbox the C3 rap written down on a sheet of paper with cool graphics. This is an easy one. It'd probably be great for kindergartners. Give them some markers and let them just color it in. But be intentional with your conversation while they're coloring it in. Kids love to talk while they're doing something, so you can just spark good conversation, talk about the Bible story while their little hands are busy.
Parts condensed down so we don't spend as much time this morning breaking up and getting it going. Just so y'all know, we kind of broke one of our own rules, and normally as we would do the game and then we would move on to a Bible story. If I'm telling the Bible story or if I'm doing the emceeing, I would not be cleaning this up while I'm having a conversation with you. Okay? And so normally whoever's telling the story would probably move over, and another crew of people will take and move that out of the way, and then your storyteller can move their way back in, and that way there's no distraction up here. So we failed on that one. All right, bring it up. You guys are going to pass out pots to you. And what pots are prayers of the season. This is something that my church does. I go to a teeny tiny little church. There's about 120 people in worship. They decided they would create a focused effort of things that they wanted to pray for a 6-month period of time. So they asked every person in the church 2 or 3 different questions and said, hey, just pray about it and come back with your answers. And amazingly, as everyone prayed about what we thought God wanted to do through the church, they were all unified. And so 120 people. My church is incredibly diverse. I would say half the population is at poverty level or below, but they all came back with the same response. And so we had a group of y'all pray about what we wanted to see in Rise Up the upcoming year. And so we put those responses together. They're on this sheet, POTS, Prayers of the Season. It's horrible, yes I know, but it works, you'll remember it. What I encourage you to do is to take this sheet, put it in your Bible, stick it on your fridge, put it in your car. These are things that we all said that we wanted to see in Rise Up this year. So as they're getting passed out, you'll have one in just a second. There's 3 different sections of this. And guys, I'll tell you, if you're operating and running your chapter meeting and you haven't spent as much time in prayer as you did getting the game ready and getting ready for the story, we got trouble, right? And so what we should be doing is praying throughout. all the month up ahead, praying for our leaders, praying for our kids, praying for our parents, praying for the storytellers, praying for the person who's putting the carnival games together. And so we want to be praying throughout that month before we ever walk in the door, so that when we walk in the door, we're ready to go. So if you walk in the door to your Rise Up meeting and you think, I haven't prayed about this at all, let me encourage you to start now. Put reminders around and be praying on a continual basis. There's 3 basic parts. I'm not going to read this to you. You can read it yourself. But we decided there were 3 key pieces, and we want to pray for spiritual formation. And meaning, we want to make sure that you and that everyone on your team is really running after Jesus. That you're spending time with Him. That you take the time to stop and be still. And then you're serving and you're doing Him. And the reason why you're doing it is because you love Jesus and you love others, and that's why you want to do it. And so you can look down there and see what those are. The other one is creating space for community. And so Rise Up, as you guys know, is a terrific way to invite your neighbors that don't go to church. It's a terrific way to talk to the school's administration, to get teachers involved, to talk to the janitor, to create a tiny little family. So if you walk into your Rise Up and you do your job and you walk out and you never have conversations with those that you're serving with or the parents that are dropping off students, like, we missed the mark, okay? We want to make sure that everybody that comes in feels a part of the community. We want to make sure we always give them an invitation to join us at what we're doing. We don't really care if they think Jesus is awesome or not, because we know that the more time they spend around us, and as much as we love Jesus, it's going to be contagious, and they're going to begin to think He's kind of cool themselves, okay? So we want to make sure that there's community for everybody. And then we want to pray, believe it or not, for more parent participation on a regular basis. And so that was a common thing. Guys, I've learned with this tiny church, they prayed some ridiculous prayers. There's no money in this church. They sent a team to Scotland this year. They sent a team to India. We feed the entire Campbell football team for the entire season. We provide the people for their chain gang, and we run their concession stand. There's 120 people, and I think the only reason we're doing it is because we prayed for it. So we prayed for God to make it happen. So I'm telling you, if you'll pray for more volunteers, do you think God wants more volunteers? Do you think He wants more people giving Him glory and talking about Him and telling children about Him? If you pray for it, do you think you'll get it? You'll get it. I promise you will. So take this. I would tell you to stick it on your fridge, because I see it frequently on my fridge, or put it in your car. And just when you stop at a light, think, I'm going to pray for that. Open my Bible, I'm going to pray for that. Just be in continual prayer. So what we'd love to do every month is to be able to celebrate as a group, like where you see God at work and what He's doing. You're going to see Him work. So make sure that you keep your eyes open and you pay attention. You're going to see miraculous things, and you're going to see Him come through. But if you're not looking for it and you're not praying for it, you might miss it. And that's just an honest thing for me, and I'm missing it in the past. You want to explain what's outside?
All right. Thank y'all for being here. We're going to let you go to team time. When you go outside, please make your way around. There are wristbands. Julie, can I borrow one of those wristbands? This year, instead of buttons, can I get an amen? We're not amen. We're going to give them wristbands, 1 per month. They'll be a different color each month. They have the virtue on the front and then the verse address on the back. On the inside, it's like it's a small, shortened way of the C3. Like, like fit so many characters on there. So this one says, think of God above and love. So just a shortened version. So please grab enough for your school. They're out there. There's some in Ziplocs. Those are in 25s. They're not all done because we were having kindergartners help us for like an hour. The other bags, just rip open and count the ones you want, count what you need. There are T-shirts. If you did not get your T-shirts or if you need more, please grab them. We've already placed another order because we've run out of so many, but please write on the paper what you're missing, what size you're missing for your school. There are Bibles. So we want you to grab 1 per 10 kids. So if you have 100 kids, you need 10 Bibles. So grab the Bibles. If you haven't had a binder yet, please get a binder and stop by the Carnival Stations. And I think that's it. And we're going to pray. Cindy is then going to pray. Oh, no.
So what do you need to talk about Carnival?
Carnival Station.
Oh, yeah. Are we doing
So-
a video for Carnival?
We actually aren't. I think we're going to do a shortened version of what's on the video.
Cindy, why don't you go, I'll take them through real quick on how to do it through the website.
Okay, yeah, so we'll go through the website, because I know for some of you, thank you. I know for some of you, Dropbox might be a scary place. And so we're gonna have Lindsey take you through where to go on the Dropbox links to find specifically Carnival stations. And unfortunately, this month I did not get the copies made of what the directions look like, but this will give you a good run through so you know where to go to find it on your own. But next month I will definitely have copies for you, so when you meet for your team time, you can decide which Carnival stations you would like. So you go to the Leadership Resources page, scroll down, hit the curriculum link. On the curriculum link, you will see the Dropbox. So that's where all of the Dropbox goes, and you can see that we have the curriculum by month. You're going to hit September. For the videos, you'll find all of them under, will they be under for Lindsey, or will they be under AV when they go for the videos?
The video to send to the...
Like the videos they just saw?
I will put that out on YouTube.
Okay, so that'll go out on YouTube, and then for the September Carnival stations, just click there. And you will see out there when you go and check things out, here's different options for the new schools. We do 4 particular stations. We do transformation, which is what we want our volunteers to do. We want them to transform, but we also want to do something where we can transform the students. So whether that's face paint or sleeping mask like the ones that Kelli has on her head, or any kind of paper masks. You'll see different options that you can use there. And then the other big category is activity stations. So we're going to be doing some sleeping bag rolls. We're going to have a activity where if you wanted them to spin, if you've ever played Bean Boozled, that's a lot of fun. Or you'll see out there that there's like this wooden DIY spinner. If you want to reserve that, you can find me, let me know. You can use that for your particular meeting. You just need to reserve it so that it gets to the right people at the right time. And you will see on this activity board that it's related to the C3, related to the theme. And then if you keep scrolling down, then you'll see different other activities. Can't have the slumber party without pizza. That's a fun activity where you do a relay, keep rolling. And then jump rope is kind of always a given, so you can always learn the rhymes or the raps. Friendship bracelets, keep rolling. There's a lot of instructions on how to do that. That one is for the older students. If you want to do slap bracelets, you can get those off of Amazon or Oriental Trading in bulk, and that's really cheap to do. And then you just use Sharpies for them to be able to design on their own. So keep rolling, keep rolling. And then if you want to make your own bed bug, those are bed bugs you don't mind bringing home. Those are just kind of fun. And then another floating ball activity that's kind of fun for the guys to do as well. We try and make sure we balance between girls and guys. And actually, I did have, keep going up, I think the fun one would be Face the Cookie. For those that do have snacks, then you want to be able to provide that and hopefully connect it back. And so, of course, cookies and milk, sleepovers, that's kind of one of the fundamentals. So this is a fun minute to win it exercise where you put the cookie on your forehead and then you try and get it down into your mouth. I did have them available, but I left them at the office. Note to self, never leave food at the office. Because when I came to pick it up today, they were all gone. So, there you go. Any questions? What? Yes, you only pick one. I give you 3 options for each section, for the transformation, for the activity, for the craft, and then the snack. So you only want to pick one of those activities and of each of those areas so that you can not overwhelm your students with lots of options. And it also helps you with your prep. Yep. The password for the leadership page is
Exclamation point, lowercase word leader, exclamation point. I think it's in your handbook.
your binder. Anything else? So what's the AV, Lindsey?
The AV is what you guys can, if you have opportunity to do audio-visual during your meeting, if you can connect a computer. Kind of what I've done here today will be out there in a shorter version. Obviously, it won't have all the videos that we did, but you'll see that it would be out there. So here's the friendship one for this meeting. It will have the music clips if you guys wanted to use the vibrations there. The Marky Mark song is in there. Some of the worship, the music worship time videos are in there. So this does take a little bit of time to download, sometimes 10 minutes, so just be aware. But that's where you find those for each meeting.
Lindsey, do you have the graphic for the ambassador thing? The ambassador event? Sorry, we're so scatterbrained. This is what happens when Jenny goes to Iceland. We're throwing some of these at you. We are doing a 5th grade ambassador event, September the 10th. It's 5th grade ambassadors only. And so we would encourage the 5th grade leader from your school to be there, but we're going to bring them together. It's $5 at the door. We're going to feed them pizza. We're going to play games. We're going to teach them some motions to the new songs we're doing, since most of them will be praise and worship. And we're going to go through the expectations of an ambassador. It'll be high energy and a fun event. We're hoping to create, we're going to pilot it. If it's awesome, we'll get to do this more with them. It's at St. Anne's Catholic Church. And the ministry will push an email to all the registered 5th graders with the graphic and the info. Oh, there it is. There it goes.
When is that going to happen?
When is the push going to happen?
Yeah.
Lindsey, when are we going to push that?
I don't know, I'm not communications anymore.
We're going to probably,
Just so we know if people register after that.
we'll probably push it a couple of times. We'll put it on Facebook, and we will push it to them, probably save the date, here it is, and then a reminder it's coming. So probably within September 1, 2, I don't know.
Okay, quick question.
Yeah.
So if I'm in charge of ambassadors for our school, do I go to this, learn how to do it, and bring it to my school?
You're going to go to, yes, this is a little bit of us bringing energy for them, giving them a youth group night, because there's no 5th grader event like that. So there's a twofold purpose. It's to do that for them. They're leaders in their school. We're going to have a fun time. It's to explain the ambassador program. So it's something that you can take back if you have more ambassadors joining later, or to reference and say, okay, y'all kind of slipped back. You're not leading with purpose, and you're not doing those things we all talked about. So yes, you can bring the information back and continue to emphasize that with your ambassadors. But it's also going to be just a really fun event for us to kind of pour into them and communicate with them. Does that make sense?
So we would need to know who our ambassadors are now to get them to a September 10th event.
You'll probably want to invite all registered 5th graders. Some of those kids, ours meeting is next week, so we had an ambassador meeting yesterday. Returning schools are going to probably get those done quickly because kids are looking forward to it. But you can push those emails out that just say, hey, if you're a 5th grader, we have an ambassador program. Here's some info, and attach this to it. So yes, this can help you with your training a little bit. Keep that back. Yes. Lindsey, you'll
Are new schools expected to finish out the first year?
Yeah, it's an option, but really we would encourage them to not do it before 2nd semester. They don't know how to lead it yet because they don't know anything about it. So it's the first year you can get away with not doing it, but really 2nd semester is something you can kind of promote it for them and then kind of encourage them to apply. There's an application online. It all happens that way. But I would kind of get your feet wet with your program before you jump that onto. They will, and they're welcome to come to this, because we want them to know that it's coming for them. So they can still come and have fun and learn about it, and if we end up doing it once a month, like a 5th grade night, they're welcome to come. Lindsey.
I was going to say that I just sent out my email to my 5th graders, so I'm more than happy to copy that and put that out on the Facebook leader forum.
Yeah, sometimes just having a starting point with the verbiage is helpful. So if you'll put that on the leader forum. If you're not on the leader forum, but you are on Facebook, please get on the leader forum. It is an amazing resource. Lots of things get asked and answered super quickly. So please join the leader forum. It's just Rise Up Leader Forum. And it's really very, very, very helpful.
Can they buy shirts there? Are you gonna have shirts like
We
ambassador
will, I
shirts?
think it makes perfect sense to have shirts there. They can pre-order them online also.
We encourage them to pay online for those too.
We
Is that-
definitely encourage them to pay online, but if we have them there, we'll figure something out. Yeah.
When they go to leader form, some of our new people, do they ask to be added and then it has to be approved or something? I'm kind of
I think so. I think there is a request to join, I think, and that happens really quickly. Like 6 or 7 of us get that notification instantly, and so that happens quick.
And what if we decide, I know the fifth grader ambassadors all get a shirt, and then they pay $5 if they want.
So they're all getting the kid shirt because they're registered. If they want, it is not required. They can pay $5, which is cheaper than the adults, and get this shirt. And that's just an option. Most of them like wearing the adult one.
And then are you still going to post, I know that we can go to Dropbox to see the videos of the program meetings, but, it's like the meeting for that month, the first and everything, but are y'all still going to post it on the leader forum?
Yeah, Lindsey will post the YouTube video on the leader forum. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, one more question, maybe question here. The audience visual songs, where does that fit into the
You can play with some of these pieces to how they'll fit. I'll tell you how mine goes, just because I can tell you our school runs a little different. They sit down as soon as they come because our school requires them to be quiet until the buses leave. So we have a little dynamic to work with. And at the very beginning, we jump straight into intro, C3, and then we do the game. And then we dismiss them to Carnival. That's kind of just how it gets our volunteers there, gives them time, they're always running late. They come back from Carnival and we'll do a song. Then it's kind of like getting them back settled, getting them something to watch on the screen and then sit down. But you can put it right after the game, and that gives you time to clean up the game while they're moving and doing something else.
So it's kind of wherever it feels
Yeah, yeah. And if you find that your meeting has too much time, plug another song in, like at the end or something. You can do that. Okay, go to team time. Enjoy your time with your team, and we'll be around if you have questions.